Why Patton fired his own officers after Kasserine Pass, the 10 days that saved the Army. March 6, 1943, Major General George S. Patton Jr. stepped through the doors of 2nd Corps headquarters in Tunisia. The building reeked of defeat. Officers shuffled through corridors with downcast eyes, moving like men who'd forgotten how to stand straight. Papers cluttered desks. Radio chatter was hesitant, uncertain. Nobody wanted to make decisions because decisions at Kasserine Pass had gotten men killed. Then Patton arrived wearing his polished helmet, carrying those ivory-handled revolvers, and fixing every man in that building with a look that said their comfortable days were over. Within hours, the first officer was relieved. Within 3 days, a dozen more would follow. Within 10 days, 2nd Corps would be unrecognizable. This is the story of why Patton destroyed the careers of dozens of his own officers to save an army that had forgotten how to fight. Historical context. February 14, 1943, German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel launched Operation Frühlingswind against untested American positions in Tunisia. The Americans had been in North Africa barely 3 months. Most had never heard a shot fired in anger. They were facing the Afrika Korps, battle-hardened veterans who'd been fighting in the desert since 1941. The result was catastrophic. By February 19th, German panzers smashed through Kasserine Pass like a fist through paper. American soldiers abandoned rifles, helmets, even boots to run faster. Officers lost contact with their units. Radios went silent. Defensive lines that looked solid on maps evaporated under fire. Major General Lloyd Fredendall commanded 2nd Corps from a bunker 70 miles behind the lines, issuing contradictory orders to units he couldn't see. By February 24th, when Rommel finally withdrew, the butcher's bill was brutal. Over 6,000 American casualties. The 168th Infantry Regiment lost 2,000 men in 5 days. The 1st Armored Division lost 183 tanks. Hundreds of Americans were captured and paraded before cameras for Nazi propaganda. British commanders whispered that Americans couldn't fight. German intelligence concluded Americans were poorly trained and easily panicked. But Eisenhower saw something different. The soldiers hadn't failed, their leaders had. George S. Patton Jr. was 57 years old in March 1943, and he'd been preparing for this moment his entire life. He'd commanded tanks in World War I, personally leading attacks through German machine gun fire. Between the wars, he'd written the Army's doctrine for armored warfare. He was known throughout the military as the best trainer of troops America had, a man who could take raw recruits and forge them into fighters. His philosophy was brutally simple. Discipline under pressure separates winning armies from losing ones. Soldiers don't lack courage, they lack leadership. Give them competent officers, aggressive tactics, and clear orders, and Americans would beat anyone. Patton was also known for something else. He fired commanders without hesitation or remorse. Incompetence, in his view, wasn't just a personal failing, it was a crime against the men those officers commanded. Eisenhower had worked with Patton for 20 years. He knew Patton could be difficult, theatrical, even unstable. He also knew Patton could rebuild 2nd Corps faster than anyone alive. On March 6th, Eisenhower relieved Fredendall and gave Patton one directive: fix this, make them fighters, do it fast. The transformation begins. Patton's first order came within 1 hour of taking command. Every soldier in 2nd Corps would wear their helmet and full combat gear at all times, no exceptions. The first officer he fired wasn't even wearing his helmet at his desk. Patton walked past, stopped, turned around, and told the man to pack his belongings and report to the rear. 20 years of service ended in one sentence. Officers without helmets were relieved on sight. By sunset, every person at headquarters looked ready for combat inspection. The next morning, Patton drove to forward positions. At the 1st Battalion headquarters, the commander wasn't present. He was back at division. His executive officer didn't know where all his companies were. Patton relieved the battalion commander immediately and told the executive officer he had 24 hours to learn his positions or he'd be gone too. At the next position, a company commander had established his post 500 yards behind his lead platoon. The officer explained he needed to coordinate communications. Patton told him a company commander belongs with his men, not behind them. Relieved, sent to the rear. Over 3 days, Patton visited dozens of positions. He fired officers who weren't at the front, officers whose positions were poorly organized, officers who couldn't answer basic questions about their tactical situation. The message spread like electricity through 2nd Corps. Know your positions. Be at the front. Be ready. Officers jumped every time a Jeep engine sounded in the distance. It might be Patton, and if you weren't ready, you were done. Tactical changes. Patton didn't just fire people, he fixed the problems that caused the Kasserine disaster. American tank tactics were defensive, reactive. Patton changed that overnight. Tanks would attack aggressively, exploit breakthroughs, maintain momentum. Artillery coordination was chaotic at Kasserine, taking hours to deliver fire missions. Patton demanded fire support within minutes. Infantry tank coordination was practiced daily because at Kasserine, infantry had panicked when German tanks appeared, not knowing how to fight alongside their own armor. Most importantly, Patton changed the mentality. No more defensive waiting. American forces would attack first, attack hard and keep attacking. Speed and aggression would be their doctrine. The opportunity to test this came fast. Eisenhower approved an offensive towards the town of El Ghoutar from March 17th. 11 days from when Patton took command to launching an attack. 11 days to transform a broken army. The test. March 17, 1943, 5:30 a.m., American artillery opened up on German positions near El Ghoutar. The barrage lasted 30 minutes, then infantry and armor attacked. The 1st Infantry Division, the same troops humiliated at Kasserine, led the assault using Patton's new tactics. By noon, they'd advanced 6 miles and captured El Ghoutar. First objective achieved ahead of schedule. Then came the real test. March 23rd, German panzers counterattacked. This was the moment. Would 2nd Corps break at Kasserine, or would it hold? German tanks charged headlong into American positions. American artillery destroyed the first wave. Anti-tank guns engaged at close range. Infantry held their ground instead of running. The German attack was stopped cold. Over 30 panzers destroyed. The counterattack had failed completely. American soldiers had just proven they could fight defensive battles against German armor. The psychological wounds of Kasserine were beginning to heal. By April 7th, American forces had advanced over 50 miles. They'd proven American soldiers, properly led, could fight effectively against the Wehrmacht. El Ghoutar wasn't the largest battle of the North African campaign, but it was the most important for American confidence. The cost. Dozens of officers had their careers destroyed by Patton's purge. Most were staff officers and battalion commanders, some regimental commanders. They were sent back to the United States, assigned to training commands or administrative positions. Their combat leadership careers were over. Some legitimately deserved it. They'd failed under pressure, made terrible decisions, gotten men killed. But others were competent administrators who simply weren't suited for frontline combat command. Patton didn't distinguish. If you couldn't lead aggressively in combat, you were removed. The personal cost was devastating. These were decent, patriotic men who'd given everything to the service. They packed their belongings in the middle of the night and headed home to face a lifetime of what-if questions. The Army handled it quietly, no formal charges. Officers were simply reassigned with vague explanations. This protected the institution while removing inadequate leaders. Cold, efficient, brutal. The officers who survived understood the lesson perfectly. Leadership under fire is unforgiving. Performance matters more than intentions. This culture persisted throughout the war. Patton commanded 2nd Corps for only 40 days. On April 15th, he was reassigned to prepare for Sicily. Omar Bradley took over and maintained Patton's standards. The culture Patton created persisted. 2nd Corps fought successfully through Tunisia, Sicily, and Italy. The divisions routed at Kasserine became elite veteran units. Patton himself would command 7th Army in Sicily and 3rd Army in France, becoming America's most celebrated ground commander. His North African purge taught the Army lessons that shaped doctrine for decades. Leadership accountability became core principle. The Army developed systems for rapid relief of failing commanders. Ironically, Patton himself would eventually be removed from command in 1945 for political statements, a victim of the system he'd helped create. The statistics tell the story. At Kasserine, 2nd Corps was routed. At El Ghoutar, 2nd Corps won. The difference was leadership. Patton saved the Army by breaking its heart, sacrificing the careers of the few to save the lives of the many.